Hello, welcome to October. We had a bit of a disaster the other day. We had the tree come down on the main gate, so we're going to set about sorting that out. If you have a look, we've done a bit earlier on getting it, but we need to chip all that up. And then if you have a look outside the gate here, bit of a mess outside here. Horseshoe traffic. And if you look over there's some big old stuff. I want to try and rescue some of them logs and recycle them later on, so but it needs tidying up here and there, so we'll crack on with that and then we'll get back to you. There you go. Jesus. Right, we've got most of that tidied up. Well, as you can see, rain stopped play, so I'll get myself tidied up. In the meantime, is an interview I did with Andrew Ellis, the new Carp Society chairman, the other day, so I'll let you watch that and I'll go and get dried off and tidied up. Cheers. Right, Andrew, thanks very much for joining us, and first of all, congratulations on your new appointment. You are now the chairman of the Carp Society.
Apparently so, yeah.
Did it surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, it all happened a bit quick, didn't it, really? I mean, I was presuming that one of the more senior members would want to take up the reins to try and fill the shoes that Derek's decided to step down now. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's a pleasure to be involved. It was just, I've always, like I said to you before, I just like being involved anyway. And since becoming a director, it opened your eyes about sort of that sort of thing. I've never really wanted to. I'd always said to myself I'd never get involved in anything like this until I was much, much older. But you kind of just do, It's so yeah. When we were sort of discussing it a while back, I thought, well, why not now? At the end of the day, it's something I do want to do, and yeah, it's just lovely to be part of it, really. So
yeah, I've been part of the team that elected you on. You were kind of a obvious choice to me, and I think to most of us. I mean, you've got a wealth of knowledge with fishery. You've been involved with the Carp Society now for 7, 8 years. Well, longer than that, but this time round 7 or 8 years. So, yeah, it was a natural choice, and we look forward to working with you.
Yeah, it's obviously there's stuff I'm going to want to do, and it will be, my emphasis will be on the existing waters we've got for now, because that's my background at the end of the day, and like it was yet very useful. Like you arranged a meeting yesterday with the head bailiffs from the different waters, which I think was great, because it's just a case of finding out what their needs are and what would make their lives easier. It's and it was really good. So we got had a constructive meeting, and I've got a list of stuff that we can talk about at the next proper meeting to sort of try and move things forward in that respect, because I think people get sort of sidetracked and concentrating on one or two different things. But at the end of the day, the core of the Carp Society nowadays is the waters that we've got, and they're a big asset to us, and I think we've got to maintain them. And day to day, going around the country as we do, it's not easy running fisheries, and it's becoming harder. Like I said to you earlier this morning, like I've got venues that we help manage that are flooded at the moment, and they're losing fish. Had another one where an otter fence was eroded, and fish have got in just under the erosion of the otter fence. Because I think it's with that sort of thing, you know, we've obviously got otter fence here, but all those things need maintenance and looking after, and it's really, all that stuff's so important. And I'm one of those ones that if I think, or sort of certainly at home, if I do something, I think, well, that's done now, and I forget about it. Like my bathroom. Do your bathroom 10 years down the line and the tap goes wrong. I'm like, why has that gone wrong? You think, well, I don't really look after it, but it's the same. But when I'm outside and looking at fisheries, I'm all over that sort of thing, because with regard to the trees here, you can be ended up with a big bill for stuff like that if you don't maintain it. But that's just tip of the iceberg, really. So I think one of the things we can do to help safeguard the future of the lakes, which are doing really well. I mean, obviously, you know, you yourself, when we took over Ashmead, you had to basically get those fish on life support, and it's really important that we get into a position where that's not going to happen again, to the best of our ability, because there's things that will always be out of our control, and the weather is certainly one of them.
Yeah.
But there's always loads you can do. So obviously, we're sat in the museum of carp fishing, and it's amazing. There's huge amounts of history involved with the Carp Society, and we're lucky to be sat here with all this nostalgia around us. You know, when I was studying at college, I used to draw the diagram, draw the logo on me, but I'll dig it out at some point. I've got, it's all back in the day when we used to hand write everything. And I used to love all that. So it is a pleasure to be involved, and it's, hopefully we can make some positive changes moving forward.
Yeah, like when all the kids were writing "I love Samantha Fox," you were drawing pictures of the Carp Society.
Oh, and rigged. Yeah, it's embarrassing. I'll dig them out. I've got a box in the loft with all my college notes in, which are all handwritten, and I spent most of the time, drawing things like the logo and carp rigs. When Calder brought out their first ever little carp rig thing, I was fascinated by that. So yeah, most of my college notebooks are filled up with rig drawings and logos. But yeah, it's just nice. It's nostalgic to look back and think, well, it's 30 odd years ago now. So yeah, it makes me feel a bit older. But it's something when I agreed to do it, it's like, actually, this is a good thing. It's obviously difficult because you've got, a lot of, and we've still got founder members involved, and all credit to them what they've achieved. And I mean, we're sat in a building now, which is amazing how it has all happened. And there's, like I say, there's an awful lot of relevance and history within the Carp Society. But as far as I'm concerned, we just need to. It's a very different environment now, both obviously politically worldwide and environmentally as well. So it's a much different. We can all look back through rose-tinted spectacles at those golden eras of carp fishing if you want, but we're here now. And I think we've just got to, like I say, really sort of safeguard what we're doing. And if we're going to have a message to put across to people, then I think we need to sit and discuss what it is we want to be achieving in the next 10, 20 years. But the most important thing is looking after the waters. I mean, the waters are what drives the Carp Society, and they need to be in good hands, really. And it's just a case of doing as much as we can to limit potential future problems.
Yeah, I think I said on the last video I did about the weather and how it affects everything. It's only till you're involved in actually running fisheries that you realise just how you can do so much, but then you are dependent. Like I said, all of a sudden everywhere's flooded now from baking out a couple of months ago, and now everything's under bloody water. Yeah,
and it's devastating. Yeah, people put a lot of time and investment into lakes, and we've, as much as you can put your ideas down on paper and plan everything meticulously, but at the end of the day, you are dealing with the forces of nature, and when we're getting these very hot summers and things like this, flash flood in 1 minute, and it'll probably be hailstones next week. It changes so quick, but you've got to look at that. It's a lot of people now are just filling carp lakes full of tons of fish, like they did in the 80s and 90s with commercial match fisheries, that's happening nowadays with carp fisheries, and it's, it pleases a few people to go and fish places like that, but we always err on the side of caution because we see what really happens, and when things go wrong, they go badly wrong on those sort of venues. So
and it's not like you can tell when it's going to happen and stuff. It's same with. I know I go a bit over top with the stock ponds with the aerators on, but I always look at them like having a seatbelt on your car. You kind of only need them when you have a crash.
That's right.
But you don't know when you're going to have that
right.
crash.
Exactly right. Yeah. It's the same as that's another thing. Really, I think we could really do with bringing more juniors in and more youngsters. And I was sat at one of the seminars with Viv and Bernice in September, and basically everyone was in the room was talking about sort of just fisheries in general and fishery management. We're sort of making note of what was going on in the angling press, which was bragging about £1,000 match winning weights, and basically the sort of people in that room. You've got the Environment Agency, CFAS, the IFM, people like Ian Welby, myself, Bernice and Viv and people like that, and we sort of basically when you've got the people who legislate what we do in that room, and it all comes down to sort of us to kind of self-regulate what goes on. So I think the more we can integrate, certainly it's easy with youngsters who are dedicated already on a fishery management course. That's how I started, that's how all my lads started, and I'd like to be able to bring some of that into the Carp Society, because we can bring youngsters in who are not just here to do a bit of fishing, but who want to learn and who want to work. And I think that's a good founding for the future, really, if we can get some young kids involved and get them on work experience placements and potentially put something together like a little mini short course, which I'm very happy to sort out over the next year. And I'm in talks with a couple of the lecturers at the colleges. So yeah, it's something I think is a positive thing. I don't see why we shouldn't be doing that. It's you've only got to find one or two useful young men or women who want to come on board, and obviously we can give them some fishing in return for some work, really.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of work to do, isn't there? So you'd never be overstaffed, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can always do with feet on the ground and people willing to do stuff, but it's also teaching them what to look for and walk around. It's easy to get carried away talking to anglers all day, but at the end of the day, you want to be looking at maintaining the fence and looking at the trees and the water and everything else. It's a lost art on a lot of people now when they come into running fisheries. It's all about what they're stocking that winter. But I think there's loads that I think not myself, but the Carp Society have got to offer future generations for young kids especially. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully implementing some changes in that respect and getting some youngsters on board that we can hopefully sort of nurture into future fishery managers, that sort of thing.
Yeah, you're on about trees and what have you. Last Sunday I thought I'd have myself a day off, and I got a phone call at about 9 o'clock in the morning that there's a tree falling down, it's blocking the gate. And I came in and it's you've seen the bits of it out there, it's an absolutely huge thing. Yeah. But we'll get a few youngsters in and send them up them trees.
yeah, with all the relevant paperwork these days, it's a nightmare. But I was in France in the summer, and a fishery over there, beautiful place. We're going back there to net it in the winter, and I fished it during the storm, which was without a doubt the heftiest storm I've ever fished through. And I was fine, I was in good bivvy and I was hunkered down in it, but it was amazing, lightning strikes and stuff. And I woke up in the morning, the rain was so heavy you couldn't hear the trees falling down. So it wasn't really windy as such, which is probably a good thing. But the wind was the rain was just, it was so loud on the bivvy. I put earphones, I wasn't fishing, I reeled in. I knew it was coming, I can't be bothered with that. It's like, so I reeled in and I put my earphones in. And I ended up having them on full, and I could only just hear the TV. I was watching telly, and the rain was so heavy. And in the morning, looked out, and there was 9. I got a picture somewhere. I'll put it on my social media. But there was 9 trees down within 30 metres of where I was. And you didn't hear them. It's just the sheer force and heavy and the weight of the constant rain. And they're all like, we got round here, look like a load of cracked willows, which are just useless. Yeah. But then the poor owners, they're in the same sort of situation. They get a lot of offers from help from anglers, but that can be quite unreliable. They're not as fortunate as us with the sort of team we've got here. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and when you're running a fishery business like that or like this, you've got to account for that sort of thing. I mean, I always learnt with tree work years ago, it's like you look at a tree and you go, oh yeah, I'll cut that down, but it's always a lot more work than you think, you know, especially if you get 2 or 3 big ones fall down like that. It's a lot of work to tidy them up and clear them up. And so, yeah, there's always loads of stuff that goes on outside the office, obviously. And obviously, you know, with my background, most of what I do is outside. I'm very seldom inside. So, but luckily we've got yourself, Sabrina, and the senior guys. Obviously, Derek's gratefully still involved, and Greg and all the other teams. So, yeah, hopefully we can positively move forward. Yeah.
Yeah, and about looking after fishes, I don't know if I told you this. I was talking to a lad a couple of months ago now, and he has his own business, so he's obviously got his head screwed on and whatever. And he was saying, says, yeah, I'm looking to buy a fishery. He says, I want to buy one that's already up and running, a day ticket waters, so I can just sit there, get the day ticket money and get stoned.
They all say that, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, wow.
Which you can do for a year, maybe 2 if you're lucky, but then then when it can go wrong, it can go badly wrong.
But talking of work, we're coming in the winter now. This is traditionally away from the Carp Society your busiest period. What sort of stuff you got planned for this winter work-wise then?
Well, thankfully we're always very busy. I mean, the summers have got busier.
Yeah, I noticed this. Yeah, you seem to be a lot busier. Yeah.
Yeah, the summers have got a lot busier, and it's good. We're always grateful for nice different projects. We kind of tend to try and work with people who we think, you know, we'll get on with, basically, because you get offered an awful lot of work, but you think we just want to do good work for people that we, you know, and get good working relationships with clients, which is why some of them I've been working for the best part of my whole career now. But yeah, the summer's been really good. We went tuna fishing and we did some nice projects out working. It's always nice in the sun and bits and pieces. But still to this day, people say to me, oh, why don't you do all the netting in the summer? And even last week, we were netting one of my regular carp lakes that we work at. And the main reason why we don't do any of it in the summer, and I'm sure 1 or 2 people do, but I totally disagree with it, is the fact that the fish, during the warmer months, doesn't matter what species you're talking about, they're much more stressed in the summer. They're much more active, they're feeding, they're trying to breed, there's all sorts of stuff going on. And then if you're trying to harvest them, net them, move them, all that sort of thing. I'm not saying it's an impossible job, and we do things like fish rescues, but they're so active and they smash themselves to bits, and you won't move silvers anyway in the warmer months. So it is always a job that we do in the winter. We've got some nice big lakes to do this winter, some new clients, nice mix really. We're off to France. We've got a week in France in November and then another week in February. Random bits like we're back out to the Isle of Man, the Isle of Wight, Scotland actually, a bit in the Lake District. Yeah, really, and that is still why I love the job. I still get to go around the country, and I do think that's why you get so much experience. You're gaining experience and knowledge all the time because you're seeing, I say it all the time, but you're not just stuck in one place, you're seeing everything. So you're noticing different trends and different things that do and don't work. And obviously, then like you say, we discussed at the meeting yesterday, we'll do a bit more here this winter. Net the stock ponds and do a bit on little ferries, and yeah, it's all good, but I still enjoy it. I've got the team around me now are fantastic. They're really keen. They're as keen as I was when I was their age, so it's nice, it's refreshing to have that, and I don't have to tell them to do stuff, they just do it, and so it's made my life a lot easier. But then on the flip side of that, it means we generate more work because I can spend a little bit more time indoors. Not that I like doing that, but yeah, we're really lucky. You know, we just sort of carry on, and before you know it, it'll be Christmas, and then the time just disappears. Yeah, but I wouldn't have it any other way, to be fair.
You're on about time disappearing now, but something popped up on my Facebook page the other day. Albums that were released 50 years ago this year, and I'm looking at it.
Frightening.
Really?
Frightening.
Yeah, were you saying something? You've done about 120 netting consents for this winter.
Yeah. Yeah, so you sit and do them all in, I try and do them in September, because the EA, you know, they've sort of got limited amount of time and staff on various different things these days, and which, you know, they get a lot of grief. A lot of people instantly will badmouth the EA online when anything happens, like a flood or anything. But at the end of the day, it's all government that you really should be addressing your issues to, because it's not. There's some immensely knowledgeable people work for the agency. There always has been, but their hands are tied most of the time when it comes to things like that, because I send them loads and loads of netting consent forms. Yeah, I think it's 123, 124, something like that this year. But it's pretty much the same every winter. And it just means that you're covered then to net the lake. It's just a standard form, and you send them the details of what you're doing, why you're doing it, etc. But yeah, it's something. If it's they've got an important job to do, and they're trying to regulate everything. And there are still to this day, a few rogues who go out there and not do any paperwork, not have any. They're just there to try and make a few quid on the sly, and they don't really care about your venues and your fisheries. It's the same with. It's always been like that, but then I think, well, every business has got its ups and downs. Yeah. So, but yeah, we have always, done as much as we can to fill out all the forms, and they're pretty good. They do get back to you.
Yeah, I must admit, every time I've had anything to do with the EA, they've always been good as gold. But a couple of times before we had the aerators and stuff down here on the stock ponds, we were having some trouble, and they came down. Within an hour or two of phone call, lent us some aerators and some generators, and the same thing at Ashmead the other year. So the guys on the ground are,
exactly.
Like you're saying, their hands are tied, aren't they?
Exactly right. It's just naivety with anglers. As soon as anything goes wrong, they'll just jump on the bandwagons and have a go at them, or make it. But like I say, I've got friends who work for the agency for years, and it's. You can only do your job, and if you're governed by the government, and you only get so much funding, there's only so much they can do. Or is it? And to be fair, we it's slightly different in the private sector, because it's up to us to get the work, and it's up to us. We only get paid if we get the jobs, and we do a good job. So it makes you, it's in a way it's more freedom. When we were at college, the safe bet back then was to go and work for the NRA, which is what it was before the EA. And a friend of mine chose that route, and I didn't. And it's one of those things, really. I've just been lucky to do what I do, and I still enjoy it. So it's good to have a close working relationship with them as well. There's no point ducking and diving. If you're going to be a professional business, you need to do everything and hold yourself to a high standard, which is what I think we want to be doing as we move forward with the Carp side. Not that we haven't been doing that, but it's all relative.
Away from work and the Carp site, then have you managed much fishing at all this year?
Well, I did last night, which is why I look a state. My friend Philip's 50th birthday. He keeps telling us he's 49, but we don't believe him. So he was fishing last night, and I said I'd come along. We were going to sit and watch a boxing, but it hammered down with rain, so we just slept, really. And I always sleep really well when I'm here. But did a bit in France. Not loads. I come down here really just to sort of escape and chill out, and I've caught a few fish out here this year. I haven't done loads of time on here. Haven't fished I did a night on farriers. Didn't catch anything. But I caught quite a few in France. Where else did we go? Tuna fishing was really good.
Oh, of course you went there. Yeah.
That was amazing. But and again, that's quite heavily regulated, and hopefully we'll be able to go next year. I don't know if the government are going to let them go out again, but again, it's all, you sort of take it while you can get it, really. That was a real fun day out. So me and the lads went out there. That was awesome.
Yeah, you had a couple of big ones, didn't you?
Well, we did, but big for us was £100, but on the boat for them, they're like, oh yeah, okay. But I think I think Matt, the young Matt, sorry, he's actually the older Matt Chippen. He was sick all day.
Yeah, please, oh, bless him.
He was sick all day. There's a good video on Ben's YouTube actually about the whole day, and it's he's got some great drone footage of the tuna alongside the boat and dolphins everywhere. It was a fantastic day out. I don't really want to tell everyone because we want to go again next year, and he's already the bookings get crazy, but it is awesome. But he was sick, and I think the last one of the day we sort of made him reel one in because he was a shadow of a man. He was just sick all day, but he reeled one in, which they said they measure him, and they never get him in the boat, which is great. It's all very very regulated, so you just tag them and release them, which is fantastic.
But you're saying you've seen a lot of dolphins as well while you're out there.
No, I've been very lucky to travel quite a bit in the past, and I always I've dived with great whites and all sorts. I'm always trying to go in the sea and around the sea. But I've never seen that many. I've been to the Maldives and some amazing places in the last 30, 40 years, but I've never seen that amount of dolphins off Cornwall. Yeah. Just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dolphins. Just unbelievable. It felt like we were in the Caribbean. It was. We were very lucky with the weather. It was, and we weren't. If you'd have gone out there on that day and not caught a fish, which is completely up to the skipper, Rob. He puts you on the fish. There's no angler skill involved. It's all to do with the boat and the skipper and the kit they've got, and it's all there. They put you on the fish. But dolphins, unbelievable. Just amazing. And with the nice weather, it meant you could sit and look for shoalfish and find. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'd never really done it before. I've done a couple of days of that sort of fishing, but obviously Viv's well into it, and Rob's a great skipper. So and Viv came out with us, which was nice to catch up with him. So yeah, it's a fantastic day out. It really was. I can imagine if it was really rough and the weather turns, then it would be the skipper's under even more pressure to find the fish. Then it made me harder to find them. But yeah, we had a great day. It was awesome.
The problem with that, if you go out and you've got seasick, you've just got to bat it out, I suppose, haven't you?
Yeah, you're out. You're not going back. You know, nowadays the kids would be like, "Oh, excuse me, can we go back in?" But apart from that, mainly I've been hiking. That's kind of what I've got into. I've resigned myself to the fact that jogging bores me, and any sort of fitness really. I'm not very good when I'm not at work. I sort of struggle to maintain any sort of routine when it comes to fitness. But I do love hiking, so. Yeah. Start of the year in April, I hiked the West Highland Way. Me and my friend Paul did 108 miles in 7 days up in Scotland, carrying all the kit, which was awesome. And then I've done Snowdon a couple of times. What else have I done this year?
We're in Switzerland a bit.
Oh yeah. I did Penifan this year, and I was fishing at Goncourt, which is awesome. And then I went on to Grindelwald. It just kept popping up on my Instagram feed, this idyllic, beautiful, it's like Heidi and, sort of panpipe music in the mountains, very idyllic. And I just thought, sod it. I'd caught a load of fish. I like not really planning stuff. So I'd gone fishing just in my little van, and I caught a hatful of big fish. And then I thought, okay, where can I go now? So I drove from where I was through the Swiss border, stayed in a really nice hotel. It was basically my holiday for the year, to be fair. Yeah. And then I stayed in a really nice hotel for a night or two, and then carried on down. I went to Grindelwald and hiked all around the mountains around there, and it's absolutely beautiful. Traditionally, it's a ski resort in the winter, but there's less and less snow around up there now. I'm sure now, or over the next few months, it'll be a totally different place. But in the summer, it's absolutely stunning. You know, it's a beautiful, beautiful place, and I'm always in awe of things like that, especially if I haven't been in places like that before. Yeah. I did use a couple of cable cars. Normally I'd have just hiked, but there's so much to do there, and I only had 3 or 4 days. So I got a couple of cable cars up, and then just took a day pack and hiked around sort of 10 hours, and then came back down. It's beautiful place, absolutely beautiful. I'll definitely go back next year.
Yeah, I saw some of the videos you put up on the Facebook thing. I must admit, it looked fantastic there.
And I drove there. It's weird because, you can fly to Geneva or Bern, but I was already in France. And the funniest thing was when I turned up at the hotel, before I got to Grindelwald, I'd been fishing, and I had a shower, but my van stunk of bait. And I had one little bag I always carry a little bag with a half decent bit of clothing in case I do something random like that. But most of what I had was camping, hiking and fishing stuff. So the van was a bit pongy after a few days. And the storm, so there's damp stuff. But I booked into this, I thought I'll treat myself. So there's a beautiful hotel place. I can't remember the name of it. If you draw a line between Grindelwald and where I was fishing at Goncourt, there's 2 huge lakes. They're huge, thousands of acres. And you can see the, can't remember the name of the mountain range in the background, but stunning, beautiful place. So I thought I'll book myself in there, but I didn't turn up until late at night. And there's all Maseratis and Porsches in the car park. It's a very grand hotel. And I turned up in my little van, which was caked in mud because all the dirt tracks around the fishery and stuff. And it had been hammering with rain. And the concierge just came out and he said, "Excuse me, sir, you can't park here." I said, "Oh, I'm booked in." And I was dressed pretty much like I am now. Looked like a bit of a drowned mat. And he said, so he went back in when my details came out. He said, "Oh, sorry, sir." He said, "Can I park your vehicle for you?" And I went, "Yeah." I thought he just wants to hide it. He just wants to hide it from all the normal people. So I got out and I wish I'd have videoed it, because just his face, because obviously he's very well dressed, beautiful hotel. And he just got in it and he just went, so he ain't going to be in there long. And he left. He didn't move it far. He just sort of tucked it behind his other car.
Just get it out of the way.
Yeah, and that was it. But that doesn't seem like long ago. But he just flew by, And we've done some swim building and some good work since then. And the year just, it's right what they say: as you get older, the time just disappears. But I'd rather it be like that in a way, because when you're busy, I can't think of nothing worse now. I'm so lucky that I don't sit indoors clock watching, wishing the time would go by. I'm very lucky to still be doing this at my age. So it's all good. It's
good.
Yeah.
We're coming to the end of the year now then. So what hopes and dreams for next year?
Just to keep being busy, really. Keep sort of promoting sensible fishery management, which is very difficult for some people, because when they ask you questions and you give them an answer, quite often, if it's not an answer they want, they almost disregard it, and it is frustrating. I still think I should just jump on the bandwagon and just go around with a kilo of powder, and just, that's what people want. If I turn around to someone and say, oh, all your problems will go away if you chuck this in your lake, I'd be able to sell loads of it. But that's not, it's frustrating how that's how a lot of people think that you can just sort out problems with fisheries, and it's never that. It's simple. And the things they don't want to do are often the things that need doing, and so there's always that conflict. But no, it's, next year hopefully it'll just be as busy. We've got a few things in the pipeline. Obviously we've got stuff to do with the Carp Society next year as well, but we've got a couple of venues I'm hoping to open up on a very low-key basis, but one of them's tied up with Natural England, and one of them's tied up with a family. So we're trying to iron out the creases in those developments. But yeah, there's always stuff going on, but I just like to keep plodding along really, and just keep busy, just keep getting the waders on, and my back's been good.
Yeah.
So fitness is okay. So yeah, just hopefully have another year like we've had this year.
Good stuff. Right, Andrew, thank you very much, and I'll let you get home and
have a shower.
Get a shower, yeah.
Get cleaned up. Yeah, nice one.
Right, cheers, Andrew.
Fishery.
go. That's Andrew Ellis, the new chairman of the Carp Society, and yeah, it's always a bit sort of worrying, unnerving when things change and what have you. But I think with Andrew, we've chosen the right person as a chairman, and I'm sure he'll carry on leading the Carp Society in the right direction. It's I know he upsets a few people, Andrew, because he says what needs to be said rather than what people want to hear, and some people are not down with that. But he's got a wealth of experience, and I'm sure everything's going to be okay. So yeah, let's see how we go getting forward. Back end of October now, and October's been really good for our lakes, fish-wise. There's been some fantastic fish coming out. These horseshoe, again, I seem to be saying this every month now, but it's a hell of a lot of 30s. Party fish came out at £39 the other day, which is its top weight so far. But a couple of other fish came out 37, 36, 35. I've had quite a few 30s now pushing past 35, which is fantastic to see, and long may it continue. But it really has been fishing well. But indeed, so has the other lakes. Farriers has done. Matt May had I think it was a 49.7, and Mighty Melvin had a 49.9, or the other way around. One had a 49.7 and one had a 49.9. Two different fish, and it's a few years ago, Farriers had about 350s in. I know we lost one. One of the 49s, I think it was the one that Melvin caught, Chili's fish. That's been 46 now for a year or so. So to see that back up to 49, heading towards 50 is fantastic. And the other 49 is one that's been nowhere near that way before. I'm saying nowhere near, it's been upper 40s, but it's not been 50 before. So that's good to see. And as bad as it sounds, one of my favourite catches from Farriers recently, Pete Roach caught a fully scaled fish at £17, and we stocked that about 2 years ago at £5. So that's done £12 in 2 years, which seems to be sort of average for the fish we have put in there. I know a couple of them that we stocked bigger than £5. I think they went in maybe in £11, £12, I can't remember. But I know one of them's come out at 28, and there's been a 27. So hopefully that continues as well. So I went down to Little Farriers the other week. Got a weed cutting attachment for the boat, primarily for Ashmead, but I thought before we sort of take it all the way down there, we'll test it out on Little Farriers, and I must say it worked really well. To be honest, there weren't a lot of weed in there. The Canadian or hydrosphere, there weren't a lot of that. There were a bit of dead hydrosphere knocking around, but what there is in Little Farriers is a hell of a lot of silt. So we lowered the blade down a bit more and cut through the silt, and it didn't go through it like butter, but it went through it all right. So we cut all that in there. So, and I think it made a bit of a difference, because the couple of weeks now since we cut it, Little Farriers has fished really well. But John and the lads did a couple of other things down there as well. So it could be any of the things we've done, but nevertheless, it's been pleasing to see the fish that are coming out of Little Farriers, and I've actually just booked a netting date for back end of January down there to have a look what's in. So looking forward to that. It'll be interesting. So, and hopefully with us cutting the siltweed, it'll be a bit easier to net. We tried it a few years ago, and we had a lot of fish halfway in pulling the net, and then when we got there, there were only about 30, 40 fish left in the net. So that were a little bit disappointing, but the fish we did have in the net were belters. But it'd be nice to go down this winter and do it again and see exactly what is in there, and maybe get rid of a few of the silvers. I know there's quite a lot of silvers in there, so if we can create a bit more biomass for the carp, and that can only be good. So yeah, looking forward to that. Ashmead as well. Ashmead's been fishing really well. I forget his name. I know a guy had a fish they call a long common that came out at £40. That's been hovering around 37, 38 for a while. So that's put £2 or £3 on as well. And I think the other fish, they're not too far behind that. They seem to be going in the direction. They all seem to be putting a little bit of weight on while remaining sort of healthy. So yeah, long may that continue. So what I'll do, I'll leave you with a few pictures of the fish that have been out on our respective lakes, and we'll call it a do, and I'll speak to you in November, where all things being well, I should have a slightly different video for you, but I won't jinx it by telling you now, but hopefully it's a little different. But until then, I'll leave you with a few of the fish that have been out. Cheers. Bye-bye.